Happy Saturday, and welcome to the Ram Ashram Satsang Weekend Workshop. My name is Eddie, and I will be introducing the facilitator for today's event. But first, I'd like to give you a brief introduction to this weekend workshop. If you direct your attention towards your screen, you'll see the first element is Satsang. Satsang is a scientific method whereby we may obtain peace, light, and love in our life. It requires no physical skill, spiritual accomplishment, or meditation experience to begin this practice. Satsang consists of two words, Sat and Sang. Sat means positive energy, and Sang means to be with or to be in the presence of. Therefore, the word Satsang means to be in the presence of positive energy. The next element is meditation. Meditation is an important part of Satsang. When we meditate, we withdraw consciousness from worldly objects and direct it inwards to focus on a single thought. In doing so, our minds become calm and our thoughts become pure, thereby allowing us to obtain higher states of consciousness, such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. Inner Satsang. There are two types of Satsang, inner Satsang and outer Satsang. An example of outer Satsang would be chanting or attending pilgrimages. When we practice outer Satsang, we have the potential to change our behavior, but it is only through the practice of inner Satsang that we can obtain higher states of consciousness, such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. The Satsang that you will learn today is an inner Satsang where we meditate in silence. Group session. These weekend workshops are structured for group participation. When we meditate as a group, our focus is improved and our personal progress along our spiritual path is expedited. By regularly attending these weekend workshops, the benefits of group participation are amplified. Joy and inner happiness. All beings wish to experience joy. Joy is the eternal longing of the soul, but only through the practice of inner Satsang can we obtain a joyous state. Each time we practice Satsang, our inner happiness gradually increases, ultimately culminating in a state of joy, which we experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The agenda for today consists of 3 sessions: the informative session, the practice session, and the interactive session. During the informative session, you will be given a lecture about a Satsang topic, the founder, or some relevant spiritual topic. During the practice session, you'll receive instructions on how to meditate, followed by a period of practice. During the interactive session, You have the opportunity to ask questions, or there'll be a panel discussion. And now, I'd like to introduce the facilitator for today's event. He has over 40 years of Satsang experience. He's the grandson of Guru Maharaj, the founder of Ram Ashram Satsang. He was born into a Satsang family where he experienced his family members obtain states of enlightenment and lead lives of peace, light, and love. At an early age, he began traveling with the mission throughout India, facilitating satsangs. And during that time, he witnessed the positive effects that satsang could have on mankind. And upon arriving to the United States, both he and his wife continued to facilitate satsangs for local satsangees. He has led teams of satsang members in translating important satsang literature into English and has worked tirelessly to make satsang more accessible to Western and English-speaking audiences. He currently travels throughout the United States, India, and England, facilitating satsangs while maintaining his duties as a husband, a father, and an IT executive. Today, he will teach us a rare and ancient form of satsang as taught by Guru Maharaj. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjeev Kumarji.
So happy Saturday, everyone. Glad that we are here in Satsang. And as you can see, we have some Satsangis joining us. So here in Virginia, we have Poonamji and Vijayji with me. And in London, you can see, folks who have joined there. So interesting definition that Eddie, thank you very much for, like always, describing and, giving a very articulate overview of satsang, but it starts with the definition. So you can have bad company, you can have good company, but then satsang is a company with the transcendental energy, which I would call the best company. So what is that? We struggle with, being with toxic people affecting us in so many different ways. And now here we are talking about satsang, which is way beyond all that. So yesterday, so apart from some folks who have traveled and joined us here and online, I'm very grateful that we have this collective energy today, which is, palpable. Now, the question is, so what is satsang? So yesterday, somebody also traveled from Connecticut to Virginia and we met and we were talking about things, and the discussion then goes more and more abstract into, so the discussion wasn't what is satsang, but it kind of went into the space where, when I woke up today, I wrote a few lines about consciousness. And, so we'll talk about it, but just to say that sometimes we are in good or bad company, but then there are times when we get connected to this higher consciousness, to, we get aware of, like self-aware in ways that it's hard to describe. You have to experience it. And these sessions, a lot of people just join as like, okay, let me just do some meditation. This is more about developing an individual practice that will connect you with yourself, because we don't understand who we are. So let me go into some of these thoughts. So we all are conscious beings. We know that, right? But question is, are we? So, and pardon me for saying this, but my dog, who just appeared, is a conscious being too. Is my consciousness different from my dog's consciousness? And we always keep talking about higher consciousness. So what is that, a different consciousness? So higher consciousness or higher level of awareness or being self-aware or being awake as opposed to being in a state of sleep. So while I am sleeping, I'm conscious, yes, but I'm in sleep state, not in awake state. So basically, higher consciousness is a special state of consciousness where our own consciousness becomes aware of this collective consciousness. So, that is why it's hard to describe, but once you experience it, that is what is satsang. That is what is, being self-aware, being at a higher conscious state. So, and yesterday's discussion kind of went into, so what happens when we meet some people and we start feeling that there is this higher consciousness? We either feel connected, we feel the presence. So, Yuan, if you bring the first slide, basically, in that context, I wanted to talk about Guru Maharaj, my grandfather, and his guru. So, two people, but when they met, what I would call like some very not so normal things happened. So I'll come back to that story. But, Yuan, if you bring the next slide, it's like, let's talk about a candle here, right? The candle could be there, and if it's not lit, it will stay there, and, it's a thing. But once you light up the candle, there is light. Same candle, but once it is lit, it is now providing this, light for people to use, etc. It's so candle, for example, can be in two states, an unlit state and a lit state, right? We can also be in those two states. That one is an aware state or higher conscious state, higher consciousness state. And like the unlit candle, completely conscious, but not like aware. And then comes, so can you light your own candle? So how do I become conscious of my own consciousness? How do I become aware of my own qualities? That would be called self-aware state or self-realized state. So candle needs fire to be lighted, right? It then can it so once lighted, it can sustain that light, provided there are no winds. So challenges never go away. But that initial thing has to happen like almost externally, but then you can sustain it. So it needs a matchbox or another candle. So that's why I brought, Guru Maharaj and his guru's picture. It was like literally their meeting was like a candle lighting another candle. So a self-aware person or a self-realized person can make you get to that state too. So those are spiritual gurus. I mean, we have lots of jokes and we have lots of, people who think they're there or they talk about it, but this is actually a real, this you can differentiate the candle which is lit and the candle which is not lit, where there is light and there is no light. And that is essentially the difference between a awake state and, so, I mean, does it, so again, I mean, if you, be it Jesus Christ or Buddha or Krishna or Rama or Guru Maharaj, they achieved these states. And yes, you can try to reinvent the wheel. There is a path or process that has been described, but even today, you can, so it wasn't too long ago. My grandfather found, and again, I mean, how all this happens is a very interesting discussion of its own. But, when there is, when somebody really has achieved a state where the next step is, because, so I will come to, I'll briefly describe Guru Maharaj's initial, journey, my grandfather's journey, which he has written in 7 volumes. So let's talk about the state of awareness. It is described in many ways, but you have to experience it yourself. So what happens? So like literally people have described it in many ways, but because you have to experience it yourself, the one who, got to that point, it's like, okay, we could try to explain, but, if you experience it, then there is no explanation needed. But it's like the way they describe it is like we are a drop of water that needs to become part of the ocean. So we have all the characteristics of that ocean, that power, but, we're just a drop. And because of that, we don't feel that powerful. We don't feel that enormous giant force or, within ourselves. And even it is said that you don't feel complete. You don't feel that you are that. So question is, do you want to feel like an isolated drop, or you want to feel like an ocean? So do you want to feel like being, so do you want to achieve this higher consciousness where we feel that we are part of this force, which is in all beings, not just human beings? This state of higher consciousness makes you aware of your true nature. Now you feel complete, you feel joyful, you feel peaceful, and enormously powerful. So my grandfather, he was, born in a very religious family. He was very ready to learn and experiment. and he didn't care like which ideology or which religion it was coming from. He was born in an area which was by the Ganges River, and a lot of saints, sages, and yogis used to be in that area. So he learned many exercises, rituals, prayers, meditations from lots of different people. And then, but he said like he didn't, he didn't like, he didn't feel that he found his guru, and he just kept, experimenting and learning and all that. You can, Yuan, you can come back to slide 1 now. So then he decided to serve, serve in a broader way. And so there was a very charitable and spiritual organization called Arya Samaj in the northern India at that time. And he started serving, and then he kind of graduated to like very high, to the board and stuff like that. But he wasn't really satisfied. He didn't feel that he was getting what he really needed. And so interestingly, he was also a homeopathic doctor. So while practicing that, he met with, who will eventually become his guru. So he met him because he was, the other guru, Lalaji Maharaj's, so my grandfather's guru's wife was ill, and she was one of his patients. That's how they met. There was mutual respect. They knew each other like good human fellows, but nothing more. They came, then came the plague. And both of them decided to send the families back to the village, and they moved to a country house outside the town on the top of the hill. And the river Ganges wasn't too far, and sometimes they used to take a walk by the river. And they both knew, they had this mutual respect, and but never talked about any religion, any spiritual topics. But then, there was this attraction that my grandfather found towards him. And it's a long story, but, what happened was one day, my grandfather's guru, Lalaji Maharaj, was singing something or just humming something. And he said, "Oh, you really have a good, you could be a good singer. Why didn't you pursue that?" And he said, "Oh, I found something better." And that is when he said, like, "Oh, it looks like, better than music must be something really spiritual." So that's when he, so he says like, that's one of the clues that was, thrown at him. But later on in one of the strolls, his guru found this hut, and there was they kind of cleaned the area in front of the hut. And this is by the river Ganges, very nice environment. And his guru actually made him sit in front of him. And he basically said that, see that this light is coming from my heart and enlightening your heart. And he says that he immediately felt lighter, as though he's floating. And he basically started him at one of the very high spiritual states. and he could see the light coming into his heart. And this is like, and we, we have talked about the 5 stages to the ultimate ocean of peace, the top of the pyramid. And this, where he started in the first session, was at the 4th realm, or the 4th layer, where, the light comes on. So anyway, coming back, basically satsang is where your inner light is lit, and somebody who has achieved that can kind of package that into a method, and that is what we will practice today. So Yuan, if you could bring the inner yoga. So essentially, and this also Eddie had described before, there are 2 things that are different here from other meditations. One is that we are not doing any activity. We are basically becoming inward oriented, focus inwards, and then concentrate. So we want our mind to get to a state of silent meditation. So inward orientation and concentration are very important first steps. So how do we, so basically what my grandfather experienced on his first, like the first meditation he did with his guru, he kind of packaged that into this method that we will practice now. Very simple, very powerful. It can take you to heights that, I have practiced this and this alone all my life. So I don't know if this is better, but what I have read, what I have experienced, what I have seen is more effective and more efficient. So all you have to do is 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening, and you can basically achieve levels by just that much effort that people who, I personally know people who practice 5 times a day for hours, etc. But you don't have to really do that to achieve the same level if you do it right. So basically, Guru Maharaj, my grandfather, used to say that those 15 minutes, those, or maybe maximum half hour, so half hour in the morning, half hour in the evening, 23 hours, do whatever you need to do to keep, the ball rolling. But that half hour should be for yourself, for your own growth, for your own spiritual, ascend to the top. So what do you do? And so let me describe that and let's practice, right? So inward orientation and concentration is where you begin, and meditation is where you ought to get to. And even if it's for a very short period, you will see the difference. You will see the difference and how you feel, how you behave, and so on and so forth. The result is higher consciousness. So for inward orientation, 2 things are important. 1, a still body. So body that is not moving helps the concentration of the mind. So still body, and believe it or not, like asanas and pranayams, physical exercises and breathing exercises help you to get to this ability to stay still for half an hour, 15 minutes to start with maybe. So so sit in a relaxed posture, a still posture, and eyes lightly closed. So eyes are closed again for the same purpose that the sensory input, you want to stop that, right? Now, so eyes lightly closed, observe your body, that it is still, it's relaxed, there is no strain anywhere. And now, what do we want to manifest? What do we want to concentrate on? Typically, meditations have some activity, breathing, etc. This one takes you to the next step, which is, you start with prayers. Here we have the prayers converted into music. So you start with music. Music helps you concentrate. But what you start doing right away is start focusing on what you want to manifest. The object of concentration is transcendental energy. Feel the presence, feel the connection, feel that transcendental energy in form of light is in front of you and is entering your heart, enlightening your heart, and then it's distributing throughout your body, enlightening your entire body. So you are getting completely and totally immersed in this light. You're becoming one. You're getting united with this energy. So that's all you need to do. The rest will happen within. So when you try to do that, still body, no sensory input through the eyes, you want to focus your mind goes away elsewhere. Natural, happens all the time. So what do you do? So that's why transition in with music, transition out with music helps a lot. But when music fades away, you are in deep silence, the collective energy is working. And this presence of this transcendental energy in front of you that's entering your heart, distributing throughout your body, and you're becoming one with this. That's the only thought. When you become conscious that your mind has wandered away, just bring it back to this thought and this thought alone. You can do any other things, practices, rituals, whatever you do, you can do before and after. But during this meditation, it's difficult in the beginning sometimes. But if you practice, it's very effective, very efficient, very powerful. So relaxed posture, eyes lightly closed, feel the presence of this transcendental energy in form of light. It's entering your heart, distributing throughout your body, and you're becoming one. You're getting completely immersed in this light. Let's start now. A happy Saturday, everyone. So, y- every, especially like for the beginners and people who are starting a practice like this, um, a lot of them say, "Oh, how do I visualize this? How do I, keep my mind concentrated on it? Am I meditating right?" One of the things that I feel that comes instantly is um, that if you sit quietly for 15 minutes, even if you initially cannot quieten the mind, your body relaxes, mind actually calms down to some degree. Um, the blood pressure, even your breathing gets regulated a bit. Overall, the physical benefits start showing up pretty quickly. But the mental chatter that needs to quieten, for some people who are ready, it happens very quickly. But for some, it takes a little more effort. But I've seen the behavioral benefits and all that start showing up very, very quickly. So on that note, recently we have had some sessions where people were more open. I mean, you can type in your question in a chat, or comment, or if you want to share how the session went, etc., please feel free. So before we wrap up, let's have a quick chat. So Luz, how are you?
Good morning or good afternoon. Happy Saturday. It's very nice to meditate with you as always. Nothing new on my end. Meditation today was wonderful and very much needed. So thanks. I certainly appreciated your discussion too about your grandfather and the guru. I think that I have, I am pretty broad-minded in terms of pathways to, peace, but I have some friends that, they don't like anything that involves establishment of any kind. So they don't, sometimes they're like, well, maybe you don't need a priest or a guru. Maybe you could do this on your own. I don't know that. I mean, I'm sure that you can. I definitely envision that as a possibility. But for me, it's very helpful to have guidance.
So I was thinking about that, right? Some are kind of born with it, right? That connection and that state. But let's look at the Buddha's journey, for example, right? So there was, he actually went to the ashrams, he went, sought help, but he felt that he didn't get the help that he needed, and he went on his own, quote unquote. And if you look deeply into that journey, there was almost like a near-death experience and a fight. And there is a picture called Mar, where hundreds of thousands of negative energies were on him before he got enlightened. So he had to cross all that before that final state was achieved. So But personally, I feel so far as we understand that reading in a book, talking about it, discussing it is very different from experiencing something. Yeah. So,
That is a great way to put it, actually. I that's true. I've read a very, very long time ago the book Siddhartha, which
mhm.
I think it's loosely based on his life.
Yes.
That's true. He did have a lot of challenges, and
Oh,
I think, yeah.
phenomenal.
So
Phenomenal.
yeah.
So
So
so that's how, it's all relative, right? Do I really want to get there? I mean, I might be happy to be in the third realm rather than top of the fifth, right? It depends on what the goal is. It also depends on how we want to take the journey, right? It's like, if I just want to go to New York, I have so many options. I can take a bus, a train, a plane. I can drive myself, right? When I sit in the plane, I give myself, I surrender myself to the plane and the person who's flying the plane, right? But hey, if you put it that way, I may not want to fly. Anyway, I'm just saying it is, it's relative. Like, if Buddha, his journey was so, I mean, it's written, it's documented, it was not a child's play. But what Guru Maharaj said, he also did lots of experiments, he did lots of things, and then maybe he was ready, or maybe it was the right moment, maybe it was the right person, or maybe it is the lighting of the candle. It's instant, but needs that to happen. When would that happen? it's it's a very interesting set of questions there. But again, I think, so far as you can get to the ocean of peace and a constant state of joy, which I have seen people can achieve in this life right here on this earth, then why not?
well said.
Yeah, and Onkar, is saying that Buddha said that you don't have to believe me, you can experience it yourself. So I think that's so true, so true. So before we wrap up, any other questions, comments, thoughts? Actually, it was a good meditation today. Very, very happy about that. And look, so India, London, and Virginia, and there are lots of other places probably with the rest of the folks here. So yeah, wonderful session. The light, inside of me, if I can feel that in itself is a state, an experience of its own. So Eddie, would you please wrap up?
Yeah, just thought came to me, and that is this path of yoga, or yoga itself, has many entry points, right? We can come in and perform outer satsang, and that may be suitable for many people, and they find joy and satisfaction in doing that. And then for others, it may present an opportunity to use your mind powers to become more proficient in your profession, or even to gain more material in your profession. And for them, that works, and that's okay. But I think for the majority of people here, this is an opportunity for us to really experience what's called God realization. And so in that sense, I don't think it's by chance that we ended up here today or in this system of Ram Ashram Satsang. And, we're here for that rare opportunity of actually experiencing something so much more greater than the mundane things that some people use yoga for. And so this is the ultimate path. And we're here to achieve the ultimate goal of that ocean of peace. And that's what Guru Maharaj sought when he was seeking, I believe, when he found his guru. And that's what we found here today. So, I'm thankful for it. And I hope everyone else can enjoy the opportunity that's before them.
Yeah. And the light, love, and peace be with you. So I enjoy the rest of the week. And this link remains the same time, Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, and Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see you again soon. So this was a great session. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Good night.
Good night.
Namaste, Bhaiya ji.
Namaskar.